And what I realized was she was not saying, be grateful for the blindness, be grateful for the difficulty. She was teaching me, be grateful for what helps us navigate through the difficulty. So again, I thought she was teaching me, and that's why I thought she was a terrible mentor, because I thought she was teaching me, okay, I want you to wake up every day and say, I'm grateful for the blindness. What she was teaching me was, I want you to wake up every day and say, I'm thankful that I have the support around me that helps me navigate through the blindness.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our mission is to inspire you to live your best audacious life ever. It's always a pleasure to be here sharing insights and stories that empower you to face challenges head on and embrace the fullness of life. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on this journey of growth and transformation. When you think about it, life is like a voyage, and just like a ship navigating stormy seas, we all face challenges that can feel overwhelming at times. But remember, every sailor knows that a sturdy ship is nothing without a reliable crew. Our support systems matter. They are the lifeboats that keep us afloat, providing the strength we need to navigate through the turbulent waters. When it comes to courage, it's not a one-time act. It's a daily choice, like deciding to hoist the sails and steer toward the horizon despite the storm. It involves acknowledging our struggles while choosing to move forward regardless of the obstacles in our path. And just as the waves ebb and flow, grief is ongoing. It's not just a singular event, but a continuous process that can resurface at unexpected moments. Accepting this allows us to ride the waves of our emotion with grace. And self-compassion acts as the anchor we can drop in the rough seas of life. Being kind to ourselves during challenging times is absolutely crucial for healing and growth. It's how we find our balance amidst the chaos. And then, lastly, the another important thing I want to remind you of, the small victories and how much they count. Each little achievement is like a beacon of light guiding our way through the fog, building a resilience and confidence over time. Today, I am thrilled to introduce our guest, Laura Bratton. Laura is a renowned speaker and coach who specializes in empowering individuals to navigate change and adversity. Having faced her own challenges with vision loss, she's transformed her experiences into a mission to help others harness their courage and resilience. Laura's mission statement is clear: to empower individuals as they navigate through change, helping them to embrace their journey with courage and gratitude. Her story is a powerful one and a beautiful testament to the strength of support systems and the importance of self-compassion and the continual nature of grief. In today's episode, Laura shares her insights on facing adversity, the importance of a support network, and how small victories can lead to significant transformations. It is a delightful conversation that you'll find inspiring and motivating. And so sit back and take in what Laura has to share with us. Enjoy. Hey, Laura, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for being here and taking the time to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for creating this platform.
No, as I said off the top before we press record here, is just the opportunity to engage in conversations, dialogues that, potentially make a difference, in the lives of others. I think it's a really big deal, and I think it's a blessing, quite frankly. And so thank you for helping me to, fulfill my own personal mission by doing this.
Absolutely.
Much on this, much time is spent on this podcast, really encouraging individuals to live their best audacious lives. And I think an important aspect of this is understanding that as we continue on our own individual journeys, our own pathways, if you will, that we're going to run into our own set of adversities, our challenges, our obstacles. And the one thing that we encourage always and often is to find a way to to outlast or overcome those periods of adversity, because certainly on the other side of that is where the greatness lies. And so this is a matter of getting on the other side, and you certainly have a lot to speak to with respect to navigating adversity and getting through challenges. Based on the fact that you lost your vision. And so maybe as a starting point, I can get you to introduce yourself to our audience and talk about the work that you do and in your story up until this point.
Yes. So like I said, thank you for creating this platform. So I am based in South Carolina. I was born and raised and then back here now. And what I do professionally is speaking and coaching. So I speak to organizations and then I do coaching one-on-one. And the whole purpose of that, the goal, the reason I created the organization was to empower people as they navigate through change. So as you mentioned, we all experience adversity and change at some point in our life,
right,
at different levels, different ways, but we all experience it. So because of my life experience and having to navigate through that change of going from full sight to no sight, I had to figure out how to adapt and adjust. So that's my passion and that's my purpose of the speaking and the coaching.
Thank you for sharing that. And when you started to experience the loss of vision, how old were you? What stage were you in life? What was happening for you at that time?
So I was a teenager. I was diagnosed with a very rare retinal disease at the age of 9. And the gift of being a 9-year-old was that I was told and cognitively knew that I was being diagnosed. Yet as a 9-year-old, I couldn't emotionally process what that meant because I had almost full sight at the diagnosis. I just assumed that's what I would always have.
Right.
The reality happened and the significant vision loss came in the end of middle school and all of high school. So there was one defining moment for me where I lost a significant amount of sight, where I could no longer think, I have good sight, so I'll always have good sight, but realize, okay, this is real and this is my new reality. So I'm sitting in geography class in middle school, and the teacher said, pull out your notebooks and start copying down the notes on the board. So as I've always done, grabbed my notebook, grabbed my pen, looked up at the board, and all I saw were these black, like fuzzy, blurry blobs. It wasn't letters. It wasn't numbers. It wasn't defined shapes. It was just extremely blurry and it didn't look like anything. So I looked back down at my notebook, looked back up at the board, and that's still the same thing I saw. So I thought maybe the teacher just put it up there wrong, hadn't adjusted something correctly yet. So I leaned over to my neighbor who was busy writing her notes down. And I said, how are you copying down the notes on the board? There's nothing, the print is not normal. There's nothing to write down.
Right.
Her response changed my life forever. She just casually leaned back over and said, Laura, the print is completely normal. What do you mean we can't copy down the notes on the board? It looks like it always does. I literally remember just sitting back in my chair, and that's when the new reality became real, and I had to face, oh my gosh, I've just lost a significant amount of vision, and this is my new normal.
And so what happened next?
So that started through the high school period. I continued to lose a significant amount of sight. So it wasn't, I woke up one day and all my sight was gone.
Right.
It was, I would lose a significant amount of sight and then it would plateau for a few years. And then I would lose a significant amount of sight. So by the end of high school, I have basically what I have now. So just light perception, no usable vision to help day to day, just sunny, cloudy, lights on, lights off. Just that's what I mean by the light perception. So through that experience of adjusting, that's when through those high school years, that's when the emotional component, emotional grief, that's when the mindset and just realizing, obviously, the difficulty and being overwhelmed
Right.
started.
Right. And the perspective, so it's one thing to and there's individuals who are born without vision, but to gradually watch your vision decline
Yes.
is a totally different perspective, because it's one thing to not have something, but you
Right.
to have it and lose that there
Right.
must have been a lot of that sense of loss in that.
Yeah, that's what made the process mentally and emotionally so incredibly difficult, because I knew what I was missing. I knew what I was losing.
Right.
So for a practical example, in high school, obviously I couldn't read print books anymore. So I had to have my books in audio.
Right.
I knew how easy it was just to pick up a print book and turn to page 45 and read the second paragraph.
Right. Right.
Where with the audiobook, that would take me hours to find page 45 and read the second paragraph. So yeah, there was constantly that loss and that grief on, I knew how easy I used to could do this, and just the whole independence, the tasks that I never ever had to get help with before, all of a sudden I needed help. So that was a huge part of the loss in that grief process.
So help us understand how or what you did to help move through that or navigate through that.
So my first mindset was denial. This is not happening. I'll wake up tomorrow and have my vision. I'll just manifest hard enough. I'll just pray hard enough.
Right.
That was my initial reaction. Once that denial wore off, my mindset was, I can't. Right. The present and the future was too overwhelming. So that was my mantra. I share that to answer the question of what helped me to move forward and get through that was not my mindset. It was not my perspective. So as I'm saying, I can't, this is too much, this is too hard, this is too overwhelming. It was the support around me that was the empowerment. It was the support around me that said, again, not their words, but their actions, this is really hard, but we'll figure out a way. So for example, I had the gift of my parents saying, yes, we don't know anything about blindness. We don't know anyone with severe visual impairment, yet we'll figure it out. Right. And what they told me is every single day they would say, Laura, all we have to do is get through today. We don't have to figure out the future. We don't have to figure out where you're going to college. We don't have to figure out your profession. We don't have to figure out your entire life. Just get through this hour, this day. Right. And sometimes our goal was, okay, get up, get ready for school, eat breakfast, and get to school on time. If we can accomplish that, we accomplished a lot this day. Because the anxiety and the depression was so deep, we had to take it day by day, moment by moment. So it was originally the support. It was the support of the parents. And I laugh when I think about it now, but I have one older brother. He's 5 years older. And I laugh because it doesn't sound like support, but him continue to treat me like that little annoying, aggravating sister that he wanted to just get rid of. Right. That was a source of strength. And because he continued to treat me normally. Yes. He didn't all of a sudden baby me. I'll do everything for you. He continued to treat me like I drove him crazy all the time. And at the time I was like, you're so mean. You're such a mean brother. Why don't you feel sorry for me? But in hindsight, that was the greatest gift he could have given me. Right. Because that taught me you're still you just can't see as well. So it was the support of parents. It was the support of brother. It was the support of teachers that gave me accommodations. Okay, Laura, why don't you leave class 2 minutes before class change? So you already at your next class when the halls are crowded and crazy and loud. So it was those small accommodations that, again, as a teenager, you don't want, right? And I hate it. I didn't like having those accommodations. Yet that was the greatest source of strength I could have received. The teacher didn't say, okay, Laura, we'll just pass you through the classes. We'll just give you all A's. They made accommodations so then I could complete the class.
Gotcha.
So what shifted my mindset was having that support around me as I'm constantly saying, I can't to myself, and emotionally, I was always receiving those actions of actually you can with accommodations.
And that does so much in terms of fueling your own belief in yourself, right? Because
Yes.
you're there saying, I can't, I can't, I can't. And others going, no, absolutely no, you can and you will, right? And then they do
100%.
something and you do it. You're like, okay. And so I can see where that builds your certainly your strength, your
Yes.
resiliency, and it
Yep.
really gives you, makes you feel empowered. I can see that.
Yes, 100%. And that is a reason I regained my confidence and did have the strength to move forward, because those actions were always around me saying, you don't think you're resilient. Well, we believe in you that you're resilient. So yes, you said that perfectly. That was exactly my experience.
Love it. And I also love the living in the moment, right? Moment by moment. So we
Yes.
can get you up, get you breakfast, and get you to school on time. That's a victory. That's a
Yes.
success. And
That's and knowing that that's enough.
yeah.
Because again, my mindset was enough is having my career planned out, having, what college I was going to, have everything planned out perfectly. And that's just not realistic for anybody, especially in the midst of major traumatic change.
Right.
So yeah, just knowing that getting to school on time is actually a victory and accomplishment for the day. And then we'll figure out how to get through your first class and through lunch, taking it section by section by section. Learning that that's enough was a huge mindset shift for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely can see that. I definitely can see that. How has losing your vision reshaped or influenced your definition of courage?
So it has completely changed my definition of courage, where I originally thought courage was just pushing through, being strong, letting nothing affect you. What I have realized through my lived experience is courage is acknowledging the pain, acknowledging the change we're going through, and then choosing to move forward moment by moment by moment. So, again, courage is not, okay, I'm choosing to be courageous, so I'll be courageous for the rest of my life, but choosing every day, every moment to have courage. So, again, a practical example for me, courage looks like acknowledging, yes, Laura, this is really, really hard. Going from full sight to no sight is incredibly difficult. It's incredibly fearful. Just giving myself the courage to sit in that pain, in that grief. And then at the same time, having the courage to say, yes, it's painful. And how do I move forward? Okay, I'll move forward by receiving a guide dog so I can safely navigate the world.
Right.
So again, courage looks like acknowledging the change and then moving forward moment by moment by moment and choosing courage every day.
Right. And again, going back to celebrating those accomplishments, because you're living moment by moment, is you're building, I mean, not only your confidence but also your courage, right? Okay?
Yes.
Because when you experience something, like, so let's just say hypothetically you're about to face something, it's fearful, you're not sure, you're uncertain, you go head on, you get through it, you're successful. Well, that's build your level of tolerance, it's build
Right.
your resilience, but it's also build your courage, and it's given you now evidence that, yeah, okay, next time I face a challenge, I can get through it.
Absolutely. Each experience builds on the other. And that's the power of knowing that those small victories, what seems small to us, are actually big moments of courage. Because just like you said, they build on themselves. Okay, I got to school on time on Tuesday, so I can do it again on Wednesday and Thursday.
Right.
Because you have that evidence. You've proven to yourself you can do it.
I can see myself going, oh, I got to school on time. I'm done for the day now. Yay.
Exactly, 100%. And that's the other part of courage, saying, okay, I made it to, a class on time.
Yeah.
So now I can do, 3 more hours or 1 more hour. Yeah.
Sure.
So again, allowing each situation to build on itself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, it's gravy after that, right? Like I
Right.
achieved this, and now I'm building up.
Right.
Yeah, it's gravy after that.
Right.
No, I get that.
Absolutely.
I get that.
Absolutely.
How did gratitude fit in for you in all this?
So as I'm saying, I can't, there
Hmm.
was not a moment when I woke up and thought, oh, I'm so thankful to be blind. This gratitude, this is
Right.
great. I'm just going to be thankful and appreciative. Gratitude all started from a conversation with a mentor.
Okay.
So when I was in high school, I don't remember why we were connecting, but I remember the mentor, she just said to me, Laura, I want you to start writing down every day 3 things that you're grateful for.
Hmm.
And you can't repeat. So I want you to be very specific, focusing on that day, focusing on each day, people, situations that you're thankful for from that day. So as she told me this, as a Southerner, I smiled and said, thank you. And in my head, I was thinking, okay, you're not a good mentor. I don't think you need to be a mentor to teenagers. I'm severely depressed. I'm severely anxious. And you're telling me to be thankful.
Mm.
That's not a good idea. I have nothing to be grateful for. So, completely out of my teenage 17-year-old stubbornness, I wanted to prove her wrong. So, I started writing down what I was grateful for. And the one day became 3 days, and 3 days became a week. And what I realized was she was not saying, be grateful for the blindness, be grateful for the difficulty. She was teaching me, be grateful for what helps us navigate through the difficulty. So again, I thought she was teaching me, and that's why I thought she was a terrible mentor, because I thought she was teaching me, okay, I want you to wake up every day and say, I'm grateful for the blindness. What
Mm.
she was teaching me was, I want you to wake up every day and say, I'm thankful that I have the support around me that helps me navigate through the blindness.
Mm. That's powerful because it reframed it, right, for you.
It totally reframes it. So she wasn't teaching me walk around every day and just say thank you to everybody and everything in every situation. She was helping me to reframe my mindset to, yes, this is hard. We're not denying that. We're not taking away that. The reality, yes, this is hard. We're just adding the perspective of, how do we be grateful in the midst of trauma?
Right.
And that was such a powerful healing resource. Like I
Yeah.
can't put words to the power
Hmm.
of having that mindset.
Right. Right. It's interesting. You'll sometimes hear people, use that expression, "Hey, things could always be worse," right? And
Yeah.
I understand that to a degree. I can't say I'm fully on board with that statement only because sometimes it suggests that, well, someone is better off, and because you're better than someone else, you should be appreciative.
Right.
So that kind of messaging, I'm not 100% on board, but I do understand the premise behind it, right? And
Yes.
premise is that, okay, like this is my situation. It could have been something else, but I'm here to be able to work through what I have in front of me. And that's kind of what I think about when you as you were sharing that story.
Yes. And just acknowledging this is hard and I have support.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
acknowledging there is still a lot of strength around me, even though I'm going through this major change.
Hmm. I just love to hear about how that support system has made such a difference for you. It's beautiful, really, and that really speaks to how how important the encouragement of others is in our lives, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
not that, and it's interesting because there was I remember once upon a time I had sort of adopted this mindset. I was a self-made man, and everything I did was me and me alone and me alone, me. And when I stopped to realize and recognize that was the furthest from the reality. Like any
Yes.
person that complimented me or poured into me or made a suggestion, idea, they were helping to fortify and build me up. So I didn't do
Yeah.
these things on my own. And so it's a way of that encouragement and that empowerment. And so when you talk about your support system, that's what I'm hearing as well.
Yes. That's exactly my experience. And what that makes me think of as you share that is, I had that same mindset of, if I ask for help, if I depend on others, I'm weak and I'm
Mm,
not strong and I'm not independent and I'm not a normal teenager, a normal adult, I thought exactly what you said. I have to do it all on my own to mean that I accomplished the goal, whatever that goal might have been. What I learned is the gift of interdependence.
Right.
So not that codependent, always depending on other people, rather that independent on advocating for your needs and then trusting others to meet those needs. And one perspective that helped me so much to get to that place was I had to think about, okay, if a family, a friend, a family, a neighbor comes to me and asks me for advice or needs my help, I don't think, oh God, they're weak. I'm just thankful they reached out.
Right.
So I had to understand the same is true for me. When I'm reaching out, that's a source of strength. That's a source of trust.
Right.
And a major example where this was so true for me as far as advocating for our needs and trusting others to meet those needs. When I was in graduate school, the institution that I went to, I was the first blind person to go through the Master's of Divinity program.
Okay.
So they weren't equipped, clearly, with people who were blindness or any disability.
Right.
But they said to me, we don't know what accommodations you need, but if you tell us, we will absolutely provide those needs. And that was, again, such a source of healing and goes to exactly what you're saying about depending on others, because that forced me and taught me how to advocate for the needs. So I would have to say and learn, okay, what I need is double time on test. What I need is my books in PDF, since obviously I can't read the print books.
Right.
So it forced me to advocate for my needs and then to trust them to meet the needs. So I share that to say you're 100% correct on, we feel like we have independent means completely doing our own and being our own person, yet true strength and independence is clearly communicating our needs and trusting others to meet those needs.
And it's so important to sort of get over that, judgment or belief or false sense of whatever, that something's wrong with asking for help. In fact, to flip it on its head a little bit, there are people who really enjoy helping others and really enjoy giving. And by asking, you're allowing them or giving them an opportunity to do something they enjoy. Right?
Their passion, their gifts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's really fulfilling them. I talked about this podcast, and I'm super appreciative that you're here because you allow me to have these conversations. Right. And so it's the same kind of thing. And so, no, I think that's a wonderful thing. And you're helping, even though you don't realize that you do, you're making a difference.
Right. You're giving them a gift.
Yeah.
Right.
No, for sure. No, yeah. No, I love that. I love that. Let's talk about grit and kind of the role that's kind of played in your sort of personal transformation.
Yes. Okay. So just like we were just referring to of have to do, I can't ask for help. I have to do everything on my own. I originally thought of grit as just grin and bear it, sweep everything under the rug, keep going. Don't show any emotions. Don't show tears. Don't show sadness, just be strong and somehow get through. What I learned is grit, again, is going back to what we were talking about earlier, the moment to moment goals. So I love Dr. Angela Duckworth's work on grit. And she talks about grit as setting those small goals that lead to the large goal, to the end goal. So perfect example. I was completely overwhelmed with my present and my future in those high school years. So it was the grit of my parents saying, we are going to take this day by day by day. We don't know your future, but we'll figure it out. So again, for me, I define grit as just like courage. You acknowledge the difficulty, the reality of what is, but also you choose to have that tenacity for the moment, have that perseverance for this afternoon. So grit to me is choosing to move forward in the face of difficulty, in the face of challenge. And there's two parts to that grit. One is receiving the grit of others. So for me, receiving that support of the teachers, the brother, the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yet a huge part of that grit is then choosing it for ourselves.
Mm.
And that's hard. So for me, as I went through high school years and had so much support and encouragement, there became a time where I had to say, okay, I choose to have the grit for myself.
Right.
So for me, it was once I made that decision at the very end of high school, I made the decision to get a guide dog.
Okay.
So in between high school and college, I went to a guide dog school in San Francisco, California, where I lived on campus for a month and got oriented. The dog was already fully trained, but I got oriented with the dog.
Okay.
And it was in class through that month of working with the dog, learning how to trust the dog, that I had the realization, okay, Laura, it's time. You've had all the support around you. You made the decision with the support around you to get a guide dog. Here you are, 3,000 miles away from home, anybody you know. Yet it's time to make the decision that I'm going to physically and emotionally move forward.
Right.
So the grit for me is so powerful in those two distinct ways: receiving the support of the grit around us, and then also saying, I choose to have grit. This is really hard, but I choose every day to move forward.
You use the word choose, and I think that's such a powerful one. Like, at the end of the day, there is a choice in all that we do, and it's about consciously making the choice that allows you to move forward.
Yes, because we have the choice to move forward or to stay a victim. And for me, in those high school years, what actually made my depression and anxiety worse was that victim mentality. Poor, pitiful me, the world owes me, just staying in that pity party. That actually made me more depressed and anxious. Yet the same was true. Having that mindset and others like, oh, you're so amazing, you're superwoman, you're inspirational. That made me equally as depressed and anxious. So I share that to say that I thought of that when you said the word choice. That's why I chose to say, okay, this is hard, and move forward.
Right. I wonder if you can sort of talk about the I mean, this is a traumatic event without question,
Yes.
right? And so navigating that trauma or dealing with that trauma, because we know that trauma, it can live inside us, it can affect our world, it can impact our future choices and our actions. I wonder if you sort of talk about what it was, what did your trauma look like, and how did you navigate that?
So it looked like deep grief. So for me, the traumatic experience was the grief of the loss.
Okay.
And again, the way I moved through that was different modalities. So starting to work with a therapist in those high school years and continue that through college, that was incredibly helpful from a mindset perspective of talking it out, and also receiving feedback on how I can refrain my thoughts. Mindfulness was deeply healing. Learning every thought is not a fact. Right. Every thought is not going to be reality, thankfully. So learning, and part of the mindfulness practice is a practice called the body scan. So you mindfully think about different parts of your body and where you're holding tension. The point is to become aware. And I didn't realize most of the time I was sitting there with my fist clenched so tightly, or, my stomach tight, or my shoulders tight, because I was holding the stress in my body. So learning just to let that go, to relax, to become aware of that tension and let it go. So it was mindfulness, it was therapy. Also, it was the holistic approach of my nutrition and exercise.
Okay.
Changing my eating and not having as much processed sugar drastically reduced my anxiety.
Okay.
I wouldn't have thought that as a college kid. I didn't want to do that, right?
Right. No one does.
But
right.
yeah, but that it made such a difference, and I could tangibly feel the difference. And again, just having that daily, weekly exercise of just moving our body, having those endorphins to again process out. And another major, major component that helped me to heal through the grief was another mentor that I had in college. Again, I just like the high school mentor. I don't remember why we were meeting, but she just said to me, Laura, I just want you to know that you think you've grieved, you think you're through that process.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to understand that process is every day of your life.
Ah.
And that's not a weakness. That doesn't mean you haven't accepted your blindness. That doesn't mean you're not moving forward. It just means you're continuing to grieve every day. And that's part of your new reality.
Right.
Well, just like that other high school mentor, of course I didn't listen. My first thought was, oh no, I'm good. I've done the grief thing. I've checked that box. I'm good.
Mm.
What I realized was she was giving me permission. She was giving me permission to grieve.
Yeah.
Because she named exactly what I was feeling. I thought to move forward, I had to be done with the grief.
Right.
So it was so healing for her to teach me you have permission and it's okay to move forward and grieve all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was so healing. And that would be my encouragement to anyone in a major loss and change. It's okay to keep grieving.
Right.
It does not mean you have not accepted your new reality.
Right. And you know, when we talk about grieving, it's at the end of the day, it's a human emotion, and
Yes.
so it's
Right.
normal to feel. It's normal
Right.
to go through and experience what you experience. And uh, you know, I think sometimes we maybe demonize ourselves because, oh my gosh, I'm not
Yes.
supposed to feel this way, or this is
Right.
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 But actually, there's nothing wrong with it, and so being granted that permission is huge because it just makes it okay, if you will.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It makes it healing. And actually that's why I share that story. That has been a part of my healing of through the traumatic experience of just knowing the grief process just is what it is. There are going to be those days where I'm just teary and I have no idea why I'm teary, but I just am. And so it goes back to that courage, having the courage to let myself be teary rather than saying, oh, get over it.
Right.
Don't be teary today.
Yeah.
And just being that like mean to myself, just get over it.
Yeah. What happened to self-compassion here? I mean,
Right. 100%. That's exactly what I've had to learn is that deep self-compassion is healing.
Gotcha. So for individuals who are facing significant changes in their lives, what would you offer as strategies to manage that?
What you just said, the self-compassion.
Yeah.
I cannot say that enough because, again, I speak from my own experience and from the experience I've had coaching so many different people. We are really, really hard on ourselves and don't give ourselves credit for the difficulty of the reality.
Right.
So, as we're going through change, to give ourselves that self compassion of acknowledging this is really, really hard. Whatever the change is really hard. And acknowledging that is actually self love, self compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Once we acknowledge that, then choosing to say, okay, it's hard and I love myself enough. I have the self compassion to figure out the next hour.
Right.
Is it an email? Is it a phone call? What is it that I need to do that will be significant to move me forward today? Again, not those huge actions of changing the whole reality, but rather what's that one small moment that we can accomplish today. So that would be my advice, is that self-compassion of acknowledging the pain, acknowledging the difficulty, and then choosing day by day by day to have that courage to move forward.
Right. I love it. I mean, Laura, this is just, a tremendous story, and I love the journey and how you you've navigated and come out the other side. And when we talk about come out the other side, it's not that you said, okay, hey, I did it. It's like I did it, and folks,
Right.
here's how, here's how I did it, and
Right.
here's what we got to
Right.
do.
Right.
Which I think there's so much power in that.
Yes.
When you think of sort of your current, mindset, how does it guide sort of your daily actions and how you live your life?
So it guides me in helping me in a mindset, emotional perspective, stay balanced. So what I mean by that is when I face a difficult situation, acknowledging uh, you've done hard things before, you have the strength, the resources to navigate through this. Also, at the same time, when I have just those moments of joy, those moments of fun, those moments of laughter, knowing that's okay too. Yes, this trauma is incredibly difficult and every day is hard and exhausting, yet I can laugh. It's
Mhm.
okay to feel joy, to just enjoy every day the simplicity of life. So my
Right.
mindset now is 100% that balance of grit and of gratitude.
Mm. I love it. I love it. It's such again, great story, and again, such um, empowering. That's the word that comes to mind.
Yes.
Just very
Yes.
empowering, and being able to be a difference and be more courageous and manage the grieving process the way you did.
Yes.
Develop your grit. I mean, there's so much around what your story that I think people can take from, and great lessons. And so I want to
Yes.
thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. For listeners that wanted to connect with you directly, or learn more about your work, where can we send them, Laura?
The best place is my website. laurabratton.com has all the information about speaking, coaching, and my book.
Well, good. Oh, please tell us about the book.
So I wrote Harnessing Courage for the reason of I've received so much support. I wanted to go and also give that support. So
Mhm.
just as I shared the support of family, teachers, brother, community, I did not want to just say, okay, I received that support, good for me.
Right.
I want to say, I've received that support. Now let me go and be that support in the world. So
Mm.
I wrote Harnessing Courage from the perspective of this was my life situation. Things were normal. Then I lost my sight. Then I had to figure out how to adapt and adjust. So I tell it through the perspective of grit and of gratitude. And I wrote it very specifically that blindness was my change. Yet anyone going through a type of change or loss can read it and apply the same principles of grit and gratitude. So I didn't want to just write it, this is for people only going through blindness. I wanted to write it, all of us going through change can use it as a resource. And again, my passion, the reason I wrote it was I want others to have the resources that took me so long to develop. So hopefully this can be a source of empowerment and a source of strength that they can instantly connect to and use as resources to navigate through. And the reason I named it Harnessing Courage, I was very specific, very deliberate in working with my publisher on that title.
Mhm.
So Harnessing Courage is a respect to, I've had two guide dogs. So the harness is the leather strap that goes around the dog, and then the handle of the harness is what the human holds as the guide dog and the human literally move
Right.
forward.
Right.
So I wanted in respect and in gratitude for both of the dogs that helped me navigate the world. I named it Harnessing Courage because we both, the dog and I, had to choose courage every day to trust each other,
Mm.
to work together, to
Right.
depend on each other, us
Right.
to have that level of communication. So that's the main reason I named it Harnessing Courage. The second reason is again from the emotional perspective of every day,
Mhm.
I have to harness so much courage to navigate through the day, through
Mhm.
the week. So again, just to remind all of us, harnessing courage is an action. It's
Right.
not something we decide. Rather, it's an action we choose every day.
Mm. Absolutely. And I'm very happy to hear that you've made that choice and taken the steps that you have, and really out there making a difference in your own unique way. And so, Laura, I really appreciate your story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the manner in which you did. And I really appreciate you being a guest on the Audacious Living podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share my story.
I'm back where here on the podcast, in which thanks and appreciation goes out to Laura for being here. You know, one of the takeaways from my chat with her was a reminder that we all have the capacity for courage, but it's not always a grand gesture. Instead, courage is found in the small daily choices we make to face our fears and acknowledge our struggles. I loved how Laura emphasized that grief does not have a set endpoint. It's a journey that we navigate throughout life. You know, this perspective resonated with me deeply as it reminds us that it's okay to feel and grieve, and that doing so doesn't mean that we aren't moving forward. If you'd like to connect with Laura directly, you can find her contact details in the show notes below, but our website is laurabratton.com. There you'll also find details about her book, Harnessing Courage, as she spoke about, as well as her coaching services designed to empower you in your journey through change. Laura is currently offering a free chapter of her book on her website, so I highly encourage you to check that out. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us on another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, and share this episode with family and friends. If you haven't already done so, of course, your support helps us continue to grow and reach even more listeners who are looking to live their best audacious lives. Remember, it's not too late to embrace the courage within you, celebrate your victories, and be kind as you navigate the journey of life. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.